Now, earlier this week, there was a supposed leak about the new Super League forming in college football, and some love it and some hate it. But the truth of the matter is, as long as we get 12 great regular season games, who really cares? That's the whole point. People are still going to watch because they're great games, and the on-the-field product is at an all-time high. It's never been better. You can get upset about a lot of things, but the on-the-field product is absolutely outstanding right now. And in the grand scheme of things, conference realignment or a Super League formation is the least deadly of any of the major changes that we've seen in the landscape of college sports. I mean, compared to the now unrestricted free agency of the transfer portal and the ever closer thought of player unionization, the impact of having better teams play each other more often is actually a net positive. Now, geography hasn't mattered for a long time. We know that. Auburn and Alabama were in the West. Missouri was in the East of the SEC. Make it make sense. And the group of 5 schools that don't have the money to compete at the highest level should break away and be able to win a national championship. It's a win-win. And in reality, it's only going to make the regular season better. Now, as a person that was born and raised in SEC country, all we hear about every year for 1 week is how the SEC turns into a bakery where the only thing on the menu of the schedule is cupcakes. Well, this Super League would all but eliminate that. Now, having said that, you can't cry for the small schools on one hand and then complain when somebody pays them for a shot at a bigger school. So let's not pretend like grouping all the best teams together would cause you not to watch, because we all know you will. And perhaps a Super League could give us an even more souped up regular season. And you can always sign me up for that. I'm going to bring in my co-host, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn. And it's Friday. You know who's sitting to my right.
Iron Dragon.
This is flaming vodka.
1.5, brother. 1.5. Good.
1.5.
Good. I'm already all over it. It's me and you, David. We're my mouthing today. But
Jay, we're right here.
No.
I don't even know.
Who is
Dave,
that?
Dave, we're
Who is
here.
that? Where are you?
We're right here.
David, Super League, thoughts?
Super League. All right, let's really deep dive into this thing. The Super League proposal that was leaked, I think it was probably just, kind of dropped out in public.
Oops.
We're going to break down all the divisions here, but this was put together by College Sports Tomorrow, not to be confused with College Sports Today.
Or College Sports Yesterday.
No, they're always one day ahead, right? College Sports Tomorrow, CST, a collection of U.S. sports teams, owners, executives, and college administrators. The group includes Devils, Sixers owner David Blitzer, NFL executive Brian Rolapp, Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam, Syracuse Chancellor Kent Sferrod, and Turnkey ZRG Chairman Lynn Perna. So they say CST's initiative assumes a more concentrated structure for big-time college football that will provide greater stability and media dollars than the current fragmented model of college football. That much we can agree on, and that would be true. I think we can also agree that this would corporatize college football more than we've ever seen in our lives, but we'll get to all that. So the universities in this proposal would obviously own a percentage of the league with revenue that favors the biggest brands. 8 divisions, 14-game regular season, August to Thanksgiving, and then a 16-team playoff. The 10 teams per division, there'd be 70 permanent teams. And then that 8th division, boys, 8 of those 10 schools would be in the underleague, and they'd be relegated each season, which we've been talking about. Then you'd have another, what has been group of 5, proposal underneath that where relegation could occur. NIL would obviously still be a big part of this. BNIL is what they're calling it. So broadcast, name, image, and likeness, which is profit sharing, right? Transfers, they've come up with all sorts of, temporary rules. 85 roster spots with 70 scholarships. 50 players on the teams need to be from high school recruiting. Obviously, all of that would depend on the collective bargaining that you do with the players.
They really went into the details.
They went into the detail. 11-page proposal here. 8 divisions. The biggest question, obviously, is, what happens to the conferences? All of these conferences are already in the middle of media deals. Greg Sankey's not going to just roll over and let something like this come around. But you can't fault a venture capitalist firm for putting something like this together when the sport has been in complete turmoil.
I'm all for let's get the best ideas out there, or just put ideas out there and let's pick the best one. I'm always down for that, right? It's like they say, oh, there's never really a stupid question. It kind of falls in that same realm. I want to see all the best ideas. I need to be named college football commissioner. All three of us need to be on the panel, and we need to decide how this works. So the divisions, you have the West, you have the Southwest. There's the old Southwest Conference basically coming back. You have, I can't read, the Plains, the Midwest, the Northeast, the Southeast, and the South. So you end up, and then you have that underleague division. But take out the underleague division, you have, what is that, 7 right there? And if you look at the way some of these divisions are comprised, if you're on audio, please, Flame and Dragon, keep your sickness to yourself.
Thank you, bless.
If you're on audio, you need to come check out the video so you can see all these teams. We don't have time to list all of them. But just, for example, the South Division is Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Kentucky, LSU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I thought the most interesting part about this whole situation was the rules, kind of the sub-rules underneath it with the transfers, and they're actually lowering the amount of people on the roster. Right, in college football, you get 120 people on the roster.
With
they're lowering it
walk-ons.
to 85 and lowering the scholarships.
I didn't pay as much attention to that just because those are the type of details that I think are going to change when you allow collective bargaining with the athletes, which undoubtedly they've already admitted in this proposal you would have to. Plus, the universities would have all sorts of say. I mean, this thing's never going to happen, but something like this is the future of college football. Now, again, I still get a little bit worried that it'd be overly corporatized immediately upon signing something like this. But at the same time, they talked about the fragmented nature of college football. We as fans, we wanted a national champion. We didn't just want different conference champions. And this is the ultimate conclusion of that, because 4 playoff spots for 133 FBS teams, it's never been enough.
No, I agree.
So you need some sort of model like this.
Yeah, and even if they take a little bit out of it, it'll be worth it. Flaming, what do you think?
Man, I like it. I've always been down for the regulation system when it comes. Relegation, excuse me. I know it's like soccer. That kind of makes it a little bit weird and icky when it comes to football. But, man, I'd be down for this. I mean, does conference even matter anyways? Like, does conference even matter anymore?
Well, if we're heading toward a super league, then no, really. Where it does matter is the media rights deals and things like that. Like trying to get out of the SEC when it comes to football. You brought up Greg Sankey. That's no small task. Like that's not something that's easily done. Again, I think what you'll see is a decent amount of these proposals, and you may see a little bit of the best parts taken from these proposals and put to the final product. But when you talk about conferences matter, I don't think geography matters anymore. Not that it's not important, but obviously to the people that are making these conference realignment decisions. I mean, hell, we have Cal and Stanford who are in Palo Alto and Berkeley, California, joining the Atlantic Coast Conference. Like that doesn't exactly marry up geographically. I mean, you look at USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten, which is basically the Midwest, which in reality is really the Middle East, if we're going to be honest, of the country. So geography really doesn't matter anymore. Obviously, this would be a total breakaway, only football. I'd be interested to see what happens with the conferences in basketball. What happens like the ACC in basketball? What happens to the SEC in basketball? Do you just keep that entity there and just let football break away and become kind of its own transformer? That's the part that I find the most interesting. But make sure you hit that subscribe button. We got the phones opening at 7:15 a.m. Central, 8:15 a.m. Eastern, so make sure you get...
One more little detail I forgot to mention here, because clearly they're thinking about the entire calendar year. The deck also references a college football spring festival, a series of 40 spring games played by Super League teams each April. Those games could include concerts and other auxiliary events. An apparent push towards further commercialization. Spring exhibitions are growing in popularity.
See, I want spring exhibitions, but I don't want them between Power 5 or quote-unquote Super League teams. Like, if we're going to go to a 12-game regular season where you're not playing the New Mexico States and you're not playing the Furmans, like, having that as a spring game, I think is fantastic. You can keep the money within the state. Auburn, UAB, Troy, Alabama. You can still set the game up how you want situationally, get everything you need out of that spring game and more because you're playing a team with a different jersey on. I think you get more out of it and you don't know their play calls. I'm not as excited about, not that it wouldn't be a good game, like if Oregon played SMU, like I don't think that'd be a bad game, but I think we can supplement and get a little bit of money to those smaller schools or those schools that may be trying to move up a division, like
the relegation league,
like your relegation league. Yeah, why not pit those teams against each other? I think that would be better overall. All right, let's get to the Booster Club.
All right, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you donate and it's on topic, it will get read. Unless you're Charles Dossett, then we'll wait to the end of the show every time. We're going to start off with Rob Boudreaux. What is up, brother? He says, you can have a Super League and a not-so-Super League, but each need to have their own championship. Thoughts?
Well, so you're against relegation is basically what you don't like or maybe you do when you're saying the champion of the quote-unquote, I'm going to use Group of Five and Power Five terminology because I think that's what everybody understands the best. I don't want to have to Duolingo this thing or whatever it's called. I am all for it. It's weird when you ask the Group of Five coaches, and we've had multiple on, we're going to have more on, do they want their own national championship? It's like almost split exactly down the middle. Like half do, half don't. But in reality, like, you love Georgia Southern, I love South Alabama. They're not winning the national championship right now. They're just not. This isn't college basketball. You're not going to make some Cinderella run to the Final Four, even with the 12-team playoff. So to me, I think there does need to be a breakaway between the Power Five national champion and the Group of Five national champion, the same way that the FCS doesn't play in the FBS. It's just a money thing. It's a popularity thing. It's just part of it, right? We can have mom and pops exist and Walmart and Target exist at the same time.
And in this system, they could have a championship.
No, they could, and then you relegate move up after you.
Yeah, so here are the details on that. Again, this is just from this proposal from this venture capitalist group. The 8th division comprises 10 schools from what the deck calls the underleague, right? So that division is up with those top 80 in the Super League. The rest of the teams in college football's top tier. So that division rotates every year. 8 of the 10 teams are relegated each season and replaced by the 8 teams that play in the underleague's playoff. The rest of the underleague is organized in 8 different divisions of 7 teams, which are not detailed in this deck, but that's the league that we're talking about could have its own championship.
So they're saying that there are 8 teams out of that Super League that get relegated down and 8 from the underleague that get pulled up?
Yeah.
See, that's too much. That's too much to me. I don't know monetarily how that's going to work out with athletic departments. What I think the best way, and what we thought that the best way was, is that if you win, like the underleague, Group of Five, whatever you want to call it, has their own playoff system. If you win that national championship, you move up, and the worst ranked team in the Super League gets relegated.
So only one?
So I think only
one out of 80 teams?
Only one.
I don't think you can do 8.
Huh?
8 is way too many. Yeah, there's some
like I can probably get behind 3.
Well, and we need to go back and look at our relegation graphic that we made.
Yeah.
Did we have it set up in I think we had it set up in divisions similar to this, but it was only like 4.
See, what's really cool about this, the thing with the relegation is it's always made it a tough sell, is that, well, the conferences already have TV deals. How are you going to kick
some money
programs out and pull someone else new when they have a 10-year TV deal? Well, what's exciting about this is they've already set up a league, just one of them. Just one of the 8 leagues is the one that's going to have relegation in it, so that you could come up to Group of 5. I think 3 is a great number too. Like
there's some answer in the middle. I think another thing, and we talked about this during our relegation one. If you need to go back and look through the videos and find that one, if you're tuning in. One of the things we talked about was if you're an athletic department that operates like on I'm just going to use a number, $100 million budget. Right, that's what you operate in. And then you get relegated down, like, how much is that going to hurt that athletic department? Like, obviously, if you're getting moved up, great, right? Nobody's going to complain about more money. It's like tipping in Europe. They're not going to tell you no. Mm-hmm. But if you're like one of these humongous athletic departments on this huge budget.
But it won't be. Pull up that graphic again. Pull up that graphic again. Because, see, this is not a situation where, let's say, Notre Dame hires a new coach or Florida hires a new coach and they have a really bad season and they risk relegation. Because, see, those other 7 conferences are untouched. Like, you could lose every game and you're not getting moved down. It's only teams from that underleague division, which in this case here, that I think they've just listed 10 of them just as placeholders. Boise State, James Madison, Liberty, Miami of Ohio, New Mexico State, Toledo, Troy, Tulane, UNLV, and UTSA.
Interesting. Well, if you found a way around it, great.
So in that scenario, if South Alabama goes undefeated the next year and wins that underleague championship, or however you want to do it, then they would then move up to this division within the Super League.
Oh, I get it now. So that's an extra division in the Super League.
Yes.
Those teams are in the Super League.
Yes, and they could compete.
So they're not fighting to move up. They're already up.
They could compete for the 16-team playoff at the end of the season.
But see, that's 10 teams there, not 8. So what, like only 2 of them stay out of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 8,
All right.
so the bottom 8 of those 10 would move down to whatever is the what group of 5.
Gotcha. YouTube, subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and all the other cool gadgets and flippity-doos and who's has it's on YouTube. We appreciate it.